keep doing that. Okay, so we're live again. I just started reacting to some stuff on Twitter, realized that Bibi Netanyahu got sabotaged with maggots in the conference room that he's been using at the Watergate Hotel. So I had to go make a short form video for TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram. So now we're just going to react to... Sorry, that was really loud. It's my follower thing. Thank you for whoever just followed. We're going to react to Netanyahu's address to Congress in the United States. He's in the Capitol right now. We're going to watch that address. After, we're going to watch a little bit of the Christopher Wray testimony to Congress earlier today. But for now, we're going to watch the Bibi stuff. We can go over the maggot stuff real quick. So let's just pause this. They're still just, everyone's just talking in Congress. So this is what happened. So my question is, how the hell did this happen? Okay. So somebody went into the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C., where Netanyahu is staying, and dumped maggots all over the table of the conference room that he's been using and in the hallways of the hotel. My question is, okay, so we have a foreign head of state staying in this hotel. How the hell is it possible that some grimy protester got in with a bag of maggots and dumped them all over the hotel? How is that possible? How is the location not more secure than that? How the hell did somebody get in with a bag of maggots and bugs that close to Netanyahu, that close to the places where Netanyahu is being present, right? He's obviously using this conference room. You can see the American and Israeli flag in the background. How did somebody get that close to Netanyahu and where he's staying that they were able to dump maggots all over his table? There's also reports that they've been pulling fire alarms in the building all night so that Netanyahu couldn't sleep. People are praising him, saying this is brilliant, that whoever did this is a genius. It's disgusting. So real quick, I'm just going to add a thumbnail real quick to this live stream. Just going to add a thumbnail real quick, and then I'm going to post a short while we just wait for this congressional hearing to begin. Okay, so that's the thumbnail. It's real funny. Got Netanyahu with some maggots. Did it save? Let's see. Yeah, looks like it saved. Okay, so that's good. All right, so now we're just going to go over here. We're going to get this up to date, and we're just going to wait for his testimony to begin. I'm going to post a YouTube short real quick. But his address to Congress should begin soon. There he is. There's Netanyahu. They dumped maggots on Netanyahu. Hey Christian, yeah, definitely. So this is going to be Netanyahu's address to Congress. For those of you who are just joining, we're going to watch what Netanyahu has to say. Just waiting for it to begin. They always do this BS before addresses.
Members of Congress, I now have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel.
comes. See if we can make this a little bigger.
Thank you. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Senator Ben Cardin, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senators, members of Congress, distinguished guests. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the fourth time. We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together. Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose. And my friends, I came to assure you today of one thing: we will win. Ladies and gentlemen, like December 7th, 1941, and September 11th, 2001, October 7th is a day that will forever live in infamy. It was the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah. It began as a perfect day, not a cloud in the sky. Thousands of young Israelis were celebrating at an outdoor music festival. And suddenly, at 6:29 a.m., as children were still sleeping soundly in their beds in the towns and kibbutzim next to Gaza, suddenly heaven turned into hell. 3,000 Hamas terrorists stormed into Israel.
Quick side note, I really wish that they would make the Bear Witness 47-minute classified cut available to the public, because that video shows the most horrific things I've ever seen in my entire life. We're talking like terrorists break into a man's home, murder him in cold blood. He's not a combatant. He doesn't have a weapon. And then they take a garden hoe and try to chop his head off. Women being shot in their genitals. We're talking about children being hit with grenade shrapnel, going blind. Children running into bomb shelters and then having grenades thrown into those shelters at them. We're talking about their father's bodies blowing backwards with his internals flowing out of him, and then the children being dragged over his corpse. The most horrifically disgusting things I've ever seen in my entire life. Families being hunted down in their own homes, and then after they're dead, after Hamas has killed them, the Al-Qassam Brigaders, after they've killed them, they magazine dump them. Like, empty all of the bullets they have in their gun into the dead families that are already dead. insanely gruesome and brutal.
They butchered 1,200 people from 41 countries, including 39 Americans. Proportionately, compared to our population size, that's like 20 9/11s in one day. And these monsters, they raped women, they beheaded men, they burned babies alive.
A lot of people say that they didn't do that. They absolutely did. They literally just caught houses on fire that contained people. They couldn't break in. So a lot of the houses in the kibbutz have safe rooms to protect against these kinds of things. And when Hamas realized that they couldn't find or get into the safe rooms, they rifled through the houses, couldn't find them. They would just burn the houses down. And there's videos of it.
They killed parents in front of their children and children in front of their parents.
I was just going to say.
They dragged 255 people, both living and dead, into the dark dungeons of Gaza. Israel has already brought home 135 of these hostages, including 7 who were freed in daring rescue operations. One of those freed hostages, Noor Gamani, is here in the gallery, sitting near my wife, Sarah. On the morning of October 7th, the entire world saw Noah's look of desperation as she was violently abducted to Gaza on the back of a motorcycle. I met Noah's mother, Leora, a few months ago. She was dying of cancer. She said to me, "Prime Minister, I have one final wish. I wish to hug my daughter Noah one last time before I die." 2 months ago, I authorized a breathtaking commando rescue operation. Our special forces, including a heroic officer named Arnon Zmora, who fell in this battle, rescued Noah and 3 other hostages. I think it's one of the most moving things when Noah was reunited with her mother Leora and her mother's last wish came true. Noah, we're so thrilled to have you with us today. Thank you. Many hostage
Elon's right
families
there.
are also here with us today, including Eliyahu Bibas.
Netanyahu invited Elon.
Eliyahu Bibas is the grandfather of those 2 beautiful red-headed boys, the Bibas boys, toddlers. And they were taken hostage with their mother and and Eliyahu's son. The entire family was taken hostage. 2 beautiful red-haired children taken hostage. What monsters. And with us also is Iris Chaim, whose son Yotam bravely escaped Hamas captivity with 2 other Israelis, and tragically they were killed making their way back to our lines. We have with us also the families of American hostages. They're here. The pain these families have endured is beyond words. I met with them again yesterday, and I promised them this: I will not rest until all their loved ones are home, all of them. As we speak, we're actively engaged in intensive efforts to secure their release, and I'm confident that these efforts can succeed. Some of them are taking place right now. I want to thank President Biden for his tireless efforts on behalf of the hostages and for his efforts to the hostage families as well.
Tired efforts, more like. Where is he even?
I thank President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel after the savage attack on October 7th. He rightly called Hamas sheer evil. He dispatched 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East to deter a wider war. And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten.
He's not even here. Is he? I think I saw Jill.
President Biden and I have known each other for over 40 years. I want to thank him for half a century of friendship to Israel and for being, as he says, a proud Zionist. Actually, he says a proud Irish-American Zionist.
Oh, they're not going to like that one. They are not going to like that one.
My friends, for more than 9 months, Israel's soldiers have shown boundless courage. With us today...
And there's tens of thousands of people outside the Capitol right now, by the way, protesting this address.
With us today is Lieutenant Avichai Reuven.
Biden has been torn between American Jewish votes and woke/Muslim votes. He is unpredictable when it comes to supporting Israel. I imagine Kamala will be worse. Yeah, undoubtedly, Kamala will be worse.
Avichai is an officer in the Israeli paratroopers. His family immigrated to Israel from Ethiopia. In the early hours of October 7th, Avichai heard the news of Hamas's bloody rampage. He put on his uniform, grabbed his rifle, but he didn't have a car. So he ran 8 miles to the front lines of Gaza to defend his people. You heard that right. He ran 8 miles, came to the front lines, killed many terrorists, and saved many, many lives. Avichai, we all honor your remarkable heroism. Another Israeli is with us here today, and he's stand up right next to Avichai. This is Master Sergeant Ashraf al-Bakhiri. Ashraf is a Bedouin soldier from the Israeli Muslim community of Rat. On October 7th...
Oh, I thought Israel hated the Bedouins.
Ashraf, too, killed many terrorists. First, he defended his comrades in the military base, and he then rushed to defend the neighboring communities, including the devastated community of Kibbutz Be'eri. Like Ashraf, the Muslim soldiers of the IDF fought alongside their Jewish, Druze, Christian, and other comrades in arms with tremendous bravery. A third hero, Lieutenant Asa Sofer, is also here with us.
No, Bedouins are friends with Israel. That's not what Ilan Pape will tell you. He'll tell you that Israel dispossesses the Bedouins. He'll tell you that in the Negev desert, Israelis demo Bedouin houses and murder them. They don't murder them. In reality, Israel demos some Bedouin houses because they're built without permits. You need a permit to build houses. I'm a white guy living in America, and guess what? I need a permit to build a house. If I don't have a permit and I build a house, that house will be demoed. My race is irrelevant. It's the law. So lots of people use the argument that like Israel dispossesses Bedouins, that they discriminate systematically against Bedouins, but they do not. They treat them the same as everyone else. You need a permit to build a house. But I mean, Netanyahu's brought a Bedouin here to honor him in the United States Congress. So, yeah, sabotage with maggots. So somebody broke into the Watergate Hotel where Netanyahu is staying, and they dumped maggots all over the conference room that he's been using. It's quite complicated.
Asa fought
I'd love to debate Soliman
as an officer in the Tank Corps, and he was wounded in battle. He was wounded in battle while protecting his fellow soldiers from a grenade. He lost his right arm and the vision in his left eye. He's recovering, and incredibly, within a short time, Asa will soon return to active duty as a commander of a tank company. I just learned there is a fourth hero here, Lieutenant Jonathan Ben Chamo, who lost a leg in Gaza and continued to fight.
There you go. Stop it.
My friends, these are the soldiers of Israel, unbowed, undaunted, unafraid. As the Bible says, Am kelavi yakum. They shall rise like lions. They have risen like lions. The lions of Judah, the lions of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, the men and women of the IDF come from every corner of Israeli society, every ethnicity, every color, every creed, left and right, religious and secular. All are imbued with the indomitable spirit of the Maccabees, the legendary Jewish warriors of antiquity. With us today is Yechiel Leiter, the father of one of those Maccabees. Yechiel's father escaped the Holocaust and found refuge in America. As a young man, Yechiel moved to Israel and raised a family of 8 children. He named his eldest son Moshe after his late father. Moshe became an exemplary officer in one of our elite commando units. He served with distinction for 2 decades while raising 6 beautiful children of his own. On October 7th, Moshe volunteered to return to combat. 4 weeks later, he was killed when a booby-trapped mine exploded in a tunnel shaft right next to a mosque. At his son's funeral, Yechiel said this: "If the state of Israel had not been established after the Holocaust, the image engraved in our collective memory would have been the photograph of that helpless Jewish boy in the Warsaw Ghetto holding his hands up in the air with Nazi rifles pointed at him. But because of the birth of Israel," Yechiel continued, "because of the courage of soldiers like my son Moshe, the Jewish people are no longer helpless in the face of our enemies."
Look at John Fetterman.
Yechiel, please rise so we can honor your son's sacrifice. And I pledge to you and to all the bereaved families of Israel, some of whom are in this hall today, the sacrifice of your loved ones will not be in vain. It will not be in vain because for Israel, never again must never be an empty promise. It must always remain a sacred vow. And after October 7th, never again is now. My friends, defeating our brutal enemies requires both courage and clarity. Clarity begins by knowing the difference between good and evil. Yet incredibly, many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists and murderers. They stand with people who came into the kibbutzim, into a home. The parents hid the children, the 2 babies, in the attic, in a secret attic. They murdered the families, the parents. They find the secret latch to the hidden attic, and then they murder the babies. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Say it louder. By the way, all those protests, tens of thousands of them, are outside the U.S. Capitol right now while Netanyahu delivers this address.
They refuse to make the simple distinction between those who target terrorists and those who target civilians, between the democratic state of Israel and the terrorist thugs of Hamas. We recently learned from the National Security Director, U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America. So these protesters burn American flags even on the 4th of July. And I wish to salute the fraternity brothers at the University of North Carolina who protected the American flag against these anti-Israel protesters.
No way he just shouted out the UNC frat bros. No way Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, just shouted out the UNC frat bros who hoisted the American flag. Let's fucking go. Oh my god. Oh my god, this is electric. Holy shit.
For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building. Not that many, but they're there, and throughout the city. Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
That is the most insane thing I've ever seen. Yeah, war hero. Netanyahu is a war hero, baby.
Some of these protesters, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing, some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
Oh my god. What is this, CJ Pearson?
These protesters chant from the river to the sea, but many don't have a clue what river and what sea they're talking about.
It's true, it's true.
They not only get an F in geography, they get an F in history. They call Israel a colonialist state? Don't they know that the land of Israel is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed, where Isaiah and Jeremiah preached, and where David and Solomon ruled? For nearly 4,000 years, the land of Israel has been the homeland of the Jewish people. It's always been our home. It will always be our home.
Bro, Netanyahu just picked the pace up.
It's not only the campus protesters who get it wrong. It's also the people who run those campuses. 80 years after the Holocaust, 80 years after the Holocaust, the presidents of Harvard, Penn, and I'm ashamed to say my alma mater, MIT, couldn't bring themselves to condemn the calls for the genocide of Jews. You remember what they said? They said, it depends on the context. Well, let me give these befuddled academics a little context.
Let's go.
Anti-Semitism is the world's oldest hatred. For centuries, the massacre of Jews was always preceded by wild accusations. We were accused of everything from poisoning wells to spreading plagues, to using the blood of slaughtered children to bake Passover matzahs. These preposterous anti-Semitic lies led to persecution, mass murder, and ultimately to history's worst genocide, the Holocaust. Now, just as malicious lies were leveled for centuries at the Jewish people, malicious lies are now being leveled at the Jewish state. No, don't applaud. Listen.
Jesus.
The outrageous slanders that paint Israel as racist and genocidal are meant to delegitimize Israel, to demonize the Jewish state, and to demonize Jews everywhere. And no wonder we've witnessed an appalling rise of anti-Semitism in America and around the world. My friends, whenever and wherever we see the scourge of anti-Semitism, We must unequivocally condemn it and resolutely fight it, without exception. And don't be fooled when the blood libels against the Jewish state come from people who wear fancy silk robes and speak in lofty tones about law and justice. Here's a case in point. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has shamefully accused Israel of deliberately starving the people of Gaza. This is utter, complete nonsense. It's a complete fabrication.
I hope he brings this up. According to UNRWA, the Palestinian UN organization, Israel allows in more food to Gaza than any other country in the world. Okay, they let in more than Egypt, more crosses through their border, and they also provide it to Gaza. When the PA shut off their resources, Israel provided it for free. Okay, Israel allows more aid in than Egypt. They let in hundreds and hundreds of trucks of humanitarian aid every single day through the Karim Shalom crossing. So the idea that Israel's trying to starve the people of Gaza is utter horseshit.
Israel has enabled more than 40,000 aid trucks to enter Gaza. That's 500,000 tons of food. And that's more than 3,000 calories for every man, woman, and child in Gaza.
Hamas steals it.
If there are Palestinians in Gaza who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it, it's because Hamas is stealing it.
Exactly.
So much for that lie, but here's another. The ICC prosecutor accuses Israel of deliberately targeting civilians. What in God's green earth is he talking about? The IDF has dropped millions of flyers, sent millions of text messages, made hundreds of thousands of phone calls to get Palestinian civilians out of harm's way. But at the same time, Hamas does everything in its power to put Palestinian civilians in harm's way. They fire rockets from schools, from hospitals, from mosques. They even shoot their own people when they try to leave the war zone. A senior Hamas official, Fathi Hamad, boasted, listen to...
Real quick, before he says this, I would like to add context to Fathi Hamad. Fathi Hamad literally said that all Palestinians in diaspora, all 7 million, should seek out any Jew anywhere on the planet and take care of them by way of slaughter and killing. I would like to make that very clear, who Fathi Hamad is.
He boasted that Palestinian women and children excel at being human shields. His words, excel at being human shields. What monstrous evil. For Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. For Hamas, it's a strategy. They actually want Palestinian civilians to die so that Israel will be smeared in the international media and be pressured to end the war before it's won. This would enable Hamas to survive another day, and as they vowed, to carry out October 7th again and again and again. Well, I want to assure you, no matter what pressure is brought to bear, I will never allow that to happen. The vast majority of Americans have not fallen for this Hamas propaganda. They continue to support Israel. And I want to say thank you, America, and thank you, senators and House members who continue to support us, continue to support Israel, continue to support the truth, and see through the lies. But as for the minority that may have fallen for Hamas's con's job, I suggest you listen to Colonel John Spencer. John Spencer is head of urban warfare studies at West Point. He studied every major urban conflict. I was going to say in modern history. He corrected me, no, in history. Israel, he said, has implemented more precautions to prevent civilian harm than any military in history and beyond what international law requires. That's why, despite all the lies you've heard, the war in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios of combatants to non-combatants casualties in the history of urban warfare. And you want to know where it's lowest in Gaza? It's lowest in Rafah.
I was going to say. I knew he was going to say Rafah.
Remember what so many people said? If Israel goes into Rafah, there'll be thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of civilians killed. Well, last week, I went into Rafah. I visited our troops as they finished fighting Hamas's remaining terrorist battalions. I asked the commander there, how many terrorists did you take out in Rafah? He gave me an exact number, 1,203. I asked him, how many civilians were killed? He said, Prime Minister, practically none, with the exception of a single incident where shrapnel from a bomb hit a Hamas weapons depot and unintentionally killed 24 people. The answer is practically none. You want to know why? Because Israel got the civilians out of harm's way, something people said we could never do, but we did it.
And to be clear, I highly doubt that that incident he just described was even Israel's fault, okay? They used the smallest munition in their arsenal, a 250-pound bomb, and hit a compound, a Hamas compound, 180 meters outside of the safe zone. There is absolutely no fucking way that the shrapnel from that bomb killed 24 people in the camp, which, by the way, wasn't even the actual Rafah refugee camp.
These heroes here today, the heroic soldiers of Israel, should not be condemned for how they're conducting the war in Gaza. They should be commended for it.
Agreed. Agreed.
I want to thank all of you here today who forcefully opposed the false accusations of the ICC and stood up for the truth. These lies are not only libelous, they're downright dangerous. The ICC is trying to shackle Israel's hands and prevent us from defending ourselves. And if Israel's hands are tied, America is next. And I'll tell you what else is next. The ability of all democracies to fight terrorism will be imperiled. That's what's on the line. So let me assure you, the hands of the Jewish state will never be shackled. Israel will always defend itself. My friends, in the Middle East, Iran is virtually behind all the terrorism, all the turmoil, all the chaos, all the killing. And that should come as no surprise. When he founded the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khomeini pledged, "We will export our revolution to the entire world." We will export the Islamic revolution to the entire world. Now ask yourself, which country ultimately stands in the way of Iran's maniacal plans to impose radical Islam on the world? And the answer is clear. It's America, the guardian of Western civilization and the world's greatest power.
This is another thing that I think a lot of people don't realize when we talk about like giving money to Israel, is we are putting a dent in Iranian proxies. Iran is our enemy. We're putting a dent in Iranian proxies, and we're not spending a single American life. Not a single American has died in this conflict other than hostages that were taken by Hamas. That was unavoidable. we haven't spent the life of a single American soldier, and we've been putting a huge dent in Iranian proxies, both in their pockets and in their lives. We're weakening our enemies without doing anything, and we're profiting while doing it. So if having Israel as an ally wasn't enough for you, think about it this way: we're strategically weakening our enemies without spending any American lives, doing nothing, and profiting while doing it.
That's why Iran sees America as its greatest enemy. Last month, we heard a revealing comment, ostensibly about the war in Gaza, but about something else. It came from the foreign minister of Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, and he said this: "This is not a war with Israel. Israel," he said, "is merely a tool. The main war, the real war, is with America." Iran's regime has been fighting America from the moment it came to power. In 1979, it stormed the American embassy. It held scores of Americans hostage for 444 days. Since then, Iran's terrorist proxies have targeted America in the Middle East and beyond. In Beirut, they killed 241 U.S. servicemen. In Africa, they bombed American embassies. In Iraq, they supplied explosives to maim and kill thousands of American soldiers. In America, they actually sent death squads. They sent death squads here to murder a former Secretary of State and a former National Security Advisor. And as we recently learned, they even brazenly threatened to assassinate President Trump. But Iran understands that to truly challenge America, it must first conquer the Middle East. And for this, it uses its many proxies, including the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas. Yet in the heart of the Middle East, standing in Iran's way, is one proud pro-American democracy, my country, the State of Israel. That's why the mobs in Tehran chant death to Israel before they chant death to America. For Iran, Israel is first, America is next. So when Israel fights Hamas, we're fighting Iran. When we fight Hezbollah, we're fighting Iran. When we fight the Houthis, we're fighting Iran. And when we fight Iran, we're fighting the most radical and murderous enemy of the United States of America. And one more thing.
And not spending a single American life.
When Israel acts to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons that could destroy Israel and threaten every American city, every city that you come from, we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting you. My friends, if you remember one thing from the speech, remember this: our enemies are your enemies. Our fight is your fight, and our victory will be your victory. Ladies and gentlemen, that victory is in sight. Israel's defeat of Hamas will be a powerful blow to Iran's axis of terror. Another part of that axis, Hezbollah, attacked Israel on October 8th, a day after the Hamas attack. It has launched thousands of missiles and drones against us. 80,000 of our citizens in northern Israel evacuated their homes, becoming effectively refugees in their own
These strikes have also caused like massive wildfires in northern Israel, by the way.
land.
which is why
We are committed to returning them home. We prefer to achieve this diplomatically. But let me be clear. Israel will do whatever it must do to restore security to our northern border and return our people safely to their homes.
It's giving, we've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, I promise you, so help me God, someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Last Friday, a third Iranian proxy, the Houthis, attacked Tel Aviv with a deadly drone. It exploded a few hundred feet from the American consulate, killing one person and injuring 9. On Saturday, I authorized a swift response to that attack. All our enemies should know this. Those who attack Israel will pay a very heavy price. And as we defend ourselves, on all fronts, I know that America has our back. And I thank you for it. All sides of the aisle. Thank you.
I wonder if AOC's here. I know Bernie's protesting this.
My friends, for decades, America has provided Israel with generous military assistance. And a grateful Israel has provided America with critical intelligence that saved many lives. We've jointly developed some of the most sophisticated weapons on Earth. I choose my words carefully. We've jointly developed some of the most sophisticated weapons on Earth that help protect both our countries. And we also help keep American boots, we help keep Americans' boots off the ground while protecting our shared interests in the Middle East. I deeply appreciate America's support, including in this current war. But this is an exceptional moment. Fast-tracking U.S. military aid can dramatically expedite an end to the war in Gaza and help prevent a broader war in the Middle East. In World War II, as Britain fought on the front lines of civilization, Winston Churchill appealed to Americans with these famous words: "Give us the tools and we'll finish the job." Today, as Israel fights on the front line of civilization, I too appeal to America. Give us the tools faster and we'll finish the job faster.
Oh yeah, it's totally pissing off. It's pissing off everyone who doesn't like Netanyahu. There are tens of thousands of people outside the Capitol right now protesting this speech. Like, he's debunked half of their claims for why they hate him just in this speech alone.
My dear friends, the war in Gaza could end tomorrow if Hamas surrenders, disarms, and returns all the hostages. But if they don't, Israel will fight until we destroy Hamas's military capabilities, end its rule in Gaza, and bring all our hostages home.
Guys, Rashida Tlaib is in the audience. I don't think you guys are going to be able to see this. Let's see. Rashida Tlaib is in the audience right now with a sign that says "guilty of genocide." She's wearing a keffiyeh. And the other side of the sign says "war criminal." Jeepers creepers, guys. Let's look at this real quick. Just real quick, and then we'll get back to finishing Netanyahu's address. This is what's going on in the audience right now. And while we're here, did Rashida Tlaib gain weight? Yeah, I don't know, man. She's looking pretty rough. She's looking pretty rough. So she's got this right here. Guilty of genocide. And then she's also holding this sign, the other side. The other side says war criminal. Like, Jesus Christ.
That's what total victory means, and we will settle for nothing less. The day after we defeat Hamas, a new Gaza can emerge. My vision for that day is of a demilitarized and de-radicalized Gaza. Israel does not seek to resettle Gaza, but for the foreseeable future, we must retain overriding security control there to prevent the resurgence of terror, to ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy Israel. That's not too much to ask. It's a fundamental thing that we have a right to demand and to receive. A new generation of Palestinians must no longer be taught to hate Jews, but rather to live in peace with us. Those twin words, demilitarization and de-radicalization, those two concepts were applied to Germany and Japan after World War II.
Somebody in chat said, we need a president like Bibi. I agree. Somebody on YouTube said, we need a president like Bibi. Totally agree. His speech is electric.
And that led to decades of peace,
He's strong, he speaks well.
prosperity, and security. Following our victory, with the help of regional partners, the demilitarization and de-radicalization of Gaza can also lead to a future of security, prosperity, and peace. That's my vision for Gaza. Now here's my vision for the broader Middle East. It's also shaped in part by what we saw in the aftermath of World War II. After that war, America forged a security alliance in Europe to counter the growing Soviet threat. Likewise, America and Israel today can forge a security alliance in the Middle East to counter the growing Iranian threat. All countries that are at peace with Israel and all those countries who will make peace with Israel should be invited to join this alliance. We saw a glimpse of that potential alliance on April 14th. Led by the United States, more than half a dozen nations worked along.
Sadina said war criminals in the White House again. First of all, this isn't the White House, but this is the Capitol. He's giving a speech to Congress right now. But hey, Sadina, if you believe that Netanyahu is committing a war crime, feel free to join my Discord and have a discussion with me. I'll load up Discord right now, and I'll jump in a VC real quick. If you just go to my Twitch, it's just Cameron Higby. If you go to my Twitch, you will find the link to my Discord on my Twitch. So just hop right over here. You know, I'll actually reply. I'll reply to the what do you call it? I'll reply to my tweet with the stream on it with an invite to my Discord for you so that you can come and you can debate me. if I can figure out how to do it. Let's see. Invite people. We'll set this to 7 infinite. No, 30 minute. Never expires. Generate new link. Copy link. Now we head over to, here we go. We're just going to go to my stream real quick. We'll drop it right under here. Oops, caps lock. Did I spell your name? Sedna. For Sedna. Drop a little kissy face for you. And we'll paste the link. So there's the Discord. I'm going to hop in general voice chat right now, please, if you're not Sedna or you're pro-Israel. If you come, just mute your mic immediately, or I'll mute it for you. And we'll wait for Sedna to get in here to have a conversation with me about why she thinks Netanyahu is a war criminal and why she thinks there's a genocide in Israel. But something tells me she's probably not going to come. Let's get back to the speech.
Alongside Israel.
Yeah, apartheid state. Perfect. I'm happy to discuss why Israel's an apartheid state. I don't believe that Israel's an apartheid state, but I am happy to dismantle your argument for why you think it is. So hop in my Discord. It's right here. I dropped a link below the tweet of my stream. It's pinned on my profile. It says for Sedna with a kissy face. So just join my Discord. Hop in general voice chat right here, general VC. You can see it. I'll even make it big over here for you. Here, let's do it. There we go. Okay, you can see it right here. See, general VC, I'm in there. Anakin Skywalker is my profile picture. Hop in there and come have a conversation with me. Unless you're afraid, unless you don't know what you're talking about, hop on in. You can't be too busy. I mean, you're spamming my chat. Democracy with 4 legal systems? There's not 4 legal systems in Israel. Dependent on your race or religion. There's not 4 legal systems depending on your race or religion. There's 1 legal system. Hop on in Discord. I linked it on Twitter.
To help neutralize hundreds of missiles and drones launched by Iran against us. Thank you, President Biden, for bringing that coalition together. The new alliance I envision would be a natural extension of the groundbreaking Abraham Accords.
There will never be peace in the Middle East until terrorist state of Israel is ended. Sedna, again, join my Discord. It's right here. The link is on Twitter. Just join. You don't have to turn your camera on or anything like that. You just go to General VC after you join the server. You download the Discord app. You can do it on your phone. You hop right in here into General VC, and I'm in there with you, waiting for you. You think Israel's an apartheid state? I think that it's not an apartheid state. Jump in Discord and debate me. You have a lot to say in chat. Why don't you come say it in Discord? I actually invite you to study my country's terrorist regime, the Islamic Republic.
Those accords saw peace forged between Israel and 4 Arab countries, and they were supported by Republicans and Democrats alike. We could call...
Oh, no. I don't care if she's a brainwashed sheep. I still want to have a conversation with her. I don't care if she's a brainwashed sheep. I'm happy to... Is that Sedna? Somebody just joined Discord. Are you Sedna from the chat? The X chat? Oh, I don't think so, no. Okay, Blue, I'm just server muting everybody because I'm trying to get somebody in here to have a debate with me about Israel. So sorry.
I have a name for this new alliance. I think we should call it the Abraham Alliance.
Damn.
I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in brokering the historic Abraham Accords.
Let's go. Shout out my boy.
Like Americans, Israelis were relieved that President Trump emerged safe and sound from that dastardly attack on him, dastardly attack on American democracy. There is no room for political violence in democracies. I also want to thank President Trump for all the things he did for Israel, from recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, to confronting Iran's aggression, to recognizing Jerusalem as our capital and moving the American embassy there. That's Jerusalem, our eternal capital, never to be divided again.
And if there's anyone else watching this, by the way, if it's not Sedna, if there's anyone else watching this stream right now who's not Sedna, who wants to come up here and debate me, again, I linked the Discord below my tweet. You know, when you're on Twitter and you see me streaming, that's a tweet. Right below that is a link to the Discord. It said, "Here you go, Sedna," with a kissy face. If you're in here watching and you are in opposition to Netanyahu, you think he's a terrorist, you think he's a war criminal, you think Israel's an apartheid state, you think Israel's committing genocide, I welcome you to come to my Discord and have a conversation with me. I don't care who you are. I'm happy to talk to anybody. If you're on Twitch, it should just be below the stream. YouTube, I don't think that I have a Discord link in the description, but again, it's on my Twitter, so you can just go there.
My dear friends, Democrats and Republicans, despite these times of upheaval, I'm hopeful about the future. I'm hopeful about Israel because my people, the Jewish people, emerged from the depths of hell, from dispossession and genocide. And against all odds, we restored our sovereignty in our ancient homeland. We built a powerful and vibrant democracy, a democracy that pushes the boundaries of innovation for the betterment of all humanity. I'm hopeful about America because I'm hopeful about Americans. I know how much the people of this country have sacrificed to defend freedom. America will continue to be a force for light and good in a dark and dangerous world. For free peoples everywhere, America remains the beacon of liberty its extraordinary founders envisioned back in 1776. Working together, I'm confident that our two nations will vanquish the tyrants and terrorists who threaten us both. As Israel's Prime Minister, I promise you this: no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult the road ahead, Israel will...
All right, perfect. Samuel, I am an Israeli, and I proudly oppose this liar, manipulative thief, and possibly a traitor. If you'd like to have a discussion about Israel and Netanyahu, I urge you to join my Discord. I'm sitting in voice chat right now, waiting for somebody to come have a conversation with me. There was somebody in here earlier who was talking in chat who never came. The Discord is linked below the tweet, just right below the tweet, and it says, "Here you go, said no," with a kissy face. You'll see in the link that it says Discord. Just join that Discord link and then hop over here to General VC. You can see that's where I am right now. Let me just make this bigger for you. Let me navigate over to Discord. You can see it's right here. Or you should, nope, now you can see it. Sorry, I'm an idiot. So you can see right here, General VC. Just hop right in here. You just click it. You can do it on your phone. You just got to download the app, hop in Discord, and have a conversation with me. I'm happy to discuss this with you.
Will not relent. Israel will not bend. We will defend our land. We will defend our people. We will fight until we achieve victory. Victory over liberty, rather victory of liberty over tyranny, victory of life over death, victory of good over evil. That's our solemn commitment. And we will continue to work with the United States and our Arab partners to transform a troubled region from a backwater of repression, poverty, and war into a thriving oasis of dignity, prosperity, and peace. In this noble mission, as in many others, Israel will always remain America's indispensable ally. Through thick and thin, in good times and in bad, Israel will always be your loyal friend and your steadfast partner. On behalf of the people of Israel, I came here today to say, thank you, America. Thank you for your support and solidarity. Thank you for standing in Israel, with Israel, in our hour of need. Together we shall defend our common civilization. Together we shall secure a brilliant future for both our nations. May God bless Israel, may God bless America, and may God bless the great alliance between Israel and America forever.
Thunderous applause. Oh my God, do you hear people screaming in the back? Damn. Alright, so is there anybody in the chat who wants to come up and have a discussion about what we just heard? Anybody at all? If not, we'll move on to the Christopher Wray FBI examination in Congress earlier today. Anybody at all wants to have a discussion about Netanyahu and Israel, apartheid, genocide? Anybody at all? Step right up, step right up. Step right up. Didn't think so. Alright. On to the Christopher Wray testimony. Okay. Alright, so today the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, was examined by Congress, and he gave some testimony. Primarily, a lot of people honed in on his testimony to Jim Jordan, specifically when Jim Jordan examined him. So yeah, we're gonna go take a look at this. And by the way, the testimony is about the presidential assassination attempt on Donald Trump.
I wanted to begin today's hearing by
What the? Oh, they're just
recognizing
focusing. I was like,
the
what?
fact that we no longer have one of our great members with us. Sheila Jackson Lee, as we all know, passed away. She was a dedicated public servant. Her service on this committee, excuse me, spanned nearly 3 decades and included shepherding through countless pieces of legislation. I said yesterday at subcommittee hearing that I don't know that there was any member of Congress who got more out of 5 minutes than Sheila Jackson Lee did. And she was just a pleasant spirit who we all enjoyed. And we're thinking about her family. We all certainly will miss Sheila. I yield to the ranking member for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this room and our hearts feel a little emptier today as we mourn the loss of our dear friend and colleague, Sheila Jackson Lee. In the nearly 30 years that I've served with Sheila on the Judiciary Committee,
Wait, Samuel, not all at once. I thought you were gonna come up and you don't. Okay, wait, Samuel, I'm getting very confused by you. I'm very confused by you, Samuel. You said, I'm an Israeli and I proudly oppose this liar, manipulative thief, and possibly traitor. But you also have the yellow ribbon. So you support the war, but you don't support Netanyahu? Is that it? Is it a domestic policy issue? What's going on?
I witnessed her boundless energy, her courage, and her character as she lent her voice and her legislative talents to nearly every issue that came before this committee. Whether it was advocating for just and humane immigration reform, working to protect voting rights and preserve our civil liberties, or delving into the technical details of administrative law and intellectual property, Sheila was always at the forefront of our work. Sheila made perhaps her greatest mark serving as the chair and later ranking member of the Crime Subcommittee. In this role, she worked in a bipartisan fashion to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act
Stand
and to
behind all I
protect
said.
victims of
I'm just
trafficking,
confused by
among
what
many
you're
other
saying.
successes. She was also a
Do
leader
you
on such
support
issues as
Samuel, do you support Israel or no?
sentencing reform,
You're an
gun safety,
Israeli. Do you support the Israeli government? Do you support the war in Gaza?
police accountability,
If you don't support the war in Gaza, I welcome you to come to my Discord. The link is below the tweet where this stream is.
and racial justice. Sheila engaged in many spirited debates, but she always had the deepest respect for all of her colleagues, even those with whom she vehemently disagreed. And she deeply loved the institution of Congress, and particularly the Judiciary Committee, because it gave her a platform to make a meaningful impact on the lives of millions of Americans.
The answer is yes. The fact I support Israel does not mean I support this evil. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he does the right thing. Even a bad clock is right twice a day. Do you support the war?
If Sheila took up a cause, she could be relentless in her determination to see it through, whether that meant making one extra phone call, going to one more meeting, offering one more amendment, or making one more speech. She would not rest until she thought she had done everything she could to fight for the issues she cared about. Through it all, she stayed true to her values and always had the people of Houston close to her heart. We are all better for having known her. The American people are better for having had her in their corner all these years. I will deeply miss my friend and colleague. May her memory be a blessing. I yield back.
I want to thank the ranking member. Well said. Now, the chair recognizes himself for an opening statement. July 13th was a terrible day for America. We all agree spirited debate, fighting for what you believe in, are part of what makes this country the greatest nation in the world. But the First Amendment and
Okay, fair enough. I don't know a lot about Bibi's domestic policy. I examined primarily Israeli policy related to race and ethnicity, or the lack thereof. I don't know specifically why any Jewish Israeli might dislike Bibi, if it's unrelated to the war or racial policy.
robust political debate are not consistent in any way with violence. What happened in Butler, Pennsylvania was a tragedy that took the life of a good man, Corey Compertor, leaving a wife without a husband and 2 daughters without a father. Others were injured, and of course, former President Trump, by the grace of God, survived the assassination attempt. There are a lot of unanswered questions about the security failures that day, questions about decisions made before the rally, questions about actions during the rally, and questions about statements made after the event concluded. Prior to the rally, Why was the president's security detail denied requests for extra resources? Why weren't all the buildings secured? There were a finite number of buildings that needed to be secured. Why wasn't that done? Why was the president allowed to walk out on the stage when there was a suspicious person on the property? During the rally, what exactly happened between 6:09 and 6:14, those
Hey guys, we might not make it through this full testimony. We're actually going to 2x the speed, just because I have a meeting later in the day. We're going to get through as much of it as we can.
5 minutes. We know from briefings from the director and the deputy director of the FBI and other information we've gathered that at 6:09,
And in that time, if anyone wants to come up and debate, feel free.
the shooter was identified on the roof. At 6:10, the counter sniper was notified. Counter sniper teams were notified about the shooter. 6:11, the shooter fired several shots, injuring and killing one person, injuring others. At 6:12, the counter sniper took down the shooter, and at 6:14, President Trump was escorted off the stage by Secret Service agents. We need to know what happened play by play, moment by moment, second by second, the communications that took place, again, during that critical 5 minutes. And then finally, after the rally, why did both the Secret Service and Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas lie to the American people? July 14th, the day after the attack, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said this, quote, "The assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false." The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said, "That is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any requests for additional security measures that were rebuffed." But 5 days later, top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel. And on the 21st of July, the New York Times, confirming what the Washington Post reported, said, quote, "Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail." 180-degree change. Why did they initially lie to us in the days after the attack in Pennsylvania? Finally, we hope to learn more today from Director Wray about the shooter, his use of the drone, the explosives that were in his car, how he got on the roof, and a host of other questions. It is our hope that Director Wray's testimony can begin to give answers to the American people about all of these questions and concerns. So, Director, we appreciate you being here, and we trust that you're going to be as transparent with the committee and the country as you possibly can. And I'm sure you understand that a significant portion of the country has a healthy skepticism regarding the FBI's ability to conduct a fair, honest, open, and transparent investigation. And that skepticism is based on what they've witnessed over the past several years. The American people have seen a Biden-Harris Justice Department that can't tell us who planted the pipe bombs on January 6th, that can't tell us who leaked the Dobbs opinion, and that can't tell us who put cocaine at the White House. A Biden-Harris Justice Department who raided President Trump's home, Biden-Harris Justice Department who worked with social media companies to censor Americans, Biden-Harris Justice Department who let the country believe that the Hunter Biden laptop was misinformation when they knew at the time it was authentic, and maybe most importantly, a Biden-Harris Justice Department who retaliated against whistleblowers who came to this committee and spoke to us about these issues. Last week, we sent you 12 questions about what occurred on July 13th. We expect you to answer those questions and the others that I've just outlined. And again, we thank you for being here today and appreciate your willingness to answer the questions that the committee is going to have. And with that, I would yield to the ranking member for an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, 2 weeks ago, our country witnessed a shocking assassination attempt on a presidential candidate. Now, I disagree with Donald Trump in almost every policy area imaginable. I am frequently shocked and outraged at the plans he has for our country and the words that come out of his mouth. And I have dedicated much of the last 8 years to fighting his agenda. But regardless of my strong feelings about Donald Trump's behavior, I unequivocally and unabashedly condemn with every fiber of my being the attempt against his life. This was not just an attack on a man, but an attack on our democracy. Political violence erodes the very foundations of our nation. The concepts of freedom of speech, of peaceful transitions of power, of a democratic government at its core, these cannot exist if political violence is allowed to fester and to go unchecked. And if you think that this one assassin's bullet was a bolt out of the blue and not part of a wave of violence that has threatened this nation for years, then you have missed the point of what my Democratic colleagues and I have been imploring you to hear for some time. Election workers, many of them working for free, face near constant threats of violence. In one recent instance, an Indiana man pleaded guilty to threatening to kill an election worker who said that there were no irregularities in a recent election. That man said, quote, 10 million plus patriots will surround you when you least expect it and will, expletive, kill you, close quote. That is political violence. In another instance, Speaker Married Nancy Pelosi's husband was bludgeoned over the head with a hammer by an intruder in his home who had been there to capture Ms. Pelosi, interrogate her, and possibly, quote, break her kneecaps because of her liberal views. That is political violence. The death threat surging against Vice President Harris, former President Obama and his wife Michelle, and Governor DeSantis, as well as many others.
Here, why don't we do this, guys? I wanna. We can watch a much more focused version of this. We can watch the clip where he's actually being like interrogated. Hold up, because I feel like this is gonna be kind of a snooze fest. Okay, this is gonna.
Director, let me go back to where Mr. Bishop was. Tell me about the drone. You act like you wanted to fill us in on that. Fill us in.
So we have recovered a drone that the shooter appears to have used. It's being exploited and analyzed by the FBI lab.
we can turn this down. And after this, there's just one more thing I want to show you guys, and then I'm going to hop off stream.
The drone was recovered in his vehicle. So at the time of the shooting, the drone was in his vehicle with the controller. In addition, our investigation has uncovered.
Do you know what time of day he flew it, and if he flew it on the day of the shot?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So in addition, it appears that around 3:50 p.m., 4 o'clock in that window, on the day of the shooting, that the shooter was flying the drone around the area
2 hours.
for about 11 minutes. I want to be clear, but when I say the area, not over the stage and that part of the area itself, but I would say about 200 yards, give or take, away from that.
So this guy was flying a drone 200 yards away from a secure zone where a former president was going to be giving a speech, and you didn't investigate that?
We think,
obviously, it's not his fault. The Secret Service didn't investigate that.
but we do not know. So again, this is one of these things that's qualified because of our ongoing review, that he was live streaming, viewing the footage from that, again, about 11 minutes.
That's how a drone works.
In around the 3:50, 4 o'clock p.m. range.
2 hours before, he's flying a drone in the vicinity of the route.
About 200 yards away, yes.
200 yards. Okay, that's important information. What about the bombs that we heard about in the shooter's car?
So again, the FBI lab is exploiting those explosive devices.
Yep.
There were, we've recovered 3 devices, 2 in his vehicle and 1 back in his residence.
Are these what you would call, your experts would call, sophisticated operations, or this? I don't know. That's what I've been told by people who have some understanding of this area.
Yeah, I think it's. We've seen more sophisticated and less. I would say these are relatively, again, keyword relatively crude devices themselves, but they did have the ability to be detonated remotely. And so to that point, in addition to the 2 devices that we recovered out of his vehicle.
So they're far more sophisticated than most 20-year-old bombers would be setting up, right? They're not like a pressure cooker bomb. They're not pipe bombs. These are bombs that can be detonated remotely from wherever the attacker is within, a reasonable range of the devices.
There were receivers for those 2 explosive devices with the devices, and then on the shooter himself, when he was killed by law enforcement, he had a transmitter with him. Now, I do want to add one important point here, is at the moment, it looks to us, again, ongoing review, and I can't say that too many times. At a moment, it looks like, because of the on-off position on the receivers, that if he had tried to detonate those devices from the roof, it would not have worked. Okay. But that doesn't mean the explosives weren't dangerous.
And I'm sure we're going to get.
So this guy had 3 bombs, 2 in his car, 1 at his house, and he had a remote control for those bombs on him. So it seems like if he didn't get shot by the Secret Service, he was going to blow the parking lot up and probably kill way more people, and also create a diversion for him to get away.
These subjects a little bit later as well. Tell us what you can about the encrypted platforms we've heard about.
So one of the things that we're drilling into hard with the shooter in an effort to try to learn more about his state of mind, his motive, his ideology, his context, everything else, is to look at all of his devices, any social media accounts he had, et cetera. And one of the things we've learned in finally getting into his phone, which was also a significant technical challenge from an encryption perspective, but in addition, once we got on the phone, it turned out he was using some encrypted messaging application.
And again, the same question relative to the bombs: was this pretty sophisticated, or is this is the kind of the norm you see with folks like similar situation? How would you describe
on this subject? I would say this has unfortunately now become very commonplace, and it's a real challenge for not just the FBI but state and local law enforcement all over the state.
Tell me exactly the scope of does the scope of your investigation include what I call that critical 5 minutes from when the 6:09, when this is based, I think, on information you've given to Congress, 6:09 when the shooter's identified on the roof, and 6:14 when President Trump is ultimately escorted off, and all that happens to shot.
The fact that he was identified as a threat at 6:09 and was still alive at 6:14 is absolutely bonkers insane.
That take place in between there. Do you have access to the communications that were going on at the time in that critical 5 minutes?
So our investigation, when you say scope, our investigation includes that time frame, although focused again on the shooter himself and his attack. Now, as part of that,
he's obviously involved in that time frame.
correct, and as part of that, as part of our focus, our investigation of the shooter and the attack, of course, we are interviewing law enforcement from the scene because those are some of the most significant witnesses, and we're obviously getting access to their materials and that kind of thing. And the Secret Service has been fully cooperative.
You have access to the communications that exist there.
That exact question, I don't, as I sit here at the moment, I don't know the exact answer to that question, but I know the Secret Service has been cooperative with us.
The Congress would like access to those communications as well. I mean, not just that 5 minutes, although I think that's the critical time frame. There's lots of communications we'd love to have access as well. I see my time.
Yeah, Congress should have access to those communications. So that's the most important slice of the Christopher Wray testimony in Congress today. In addition, I want to show you guys one more thing before I hop off stream here. And make sure, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter or wherever, if you're not following or subscribed, make sure to do that, please. And tune in again. I'm live every day, every weekday at 11 a.m. We're covering up-to-date stuff, current events, speeches, testimony, cross-examination, whatever's going on in the political world. And this is the last thing that I want to show you guys. So, if you remember, Donald Trump was charged with falsifying business record keeping. Okay, that's a misdemeanor in New York. Sentencing. That's a misdemeanor in New York. And the reason that he was charged with felonies is because they accused him of concealing an underlying crime, using that fraud to conceal an underlying crime. That underlying crime was election interference. He was concealing items of information from the American people, much of it not true in the first place, using hush money, and they used a very esoteric legal framework to accuse him of election interference. He wasn't convicted of that crime. He wasn't found guilty of that crime. They just pointed that he was, guilty of doing it, and they claimed that he was guilty of doing it, and that was enough to upgrade it to a felony, and he was ultimately found guilty. Didn't have to be convicted on the underlying. With that being said, I'd like you to watch this video. Yesterday, I was attempting to find information on Kamala's sentencing record. I couldn't find it anywhere. I want the exact number of people that she sentenced to prison for marijuana offenses. Couldn't find it anywhere. Okay, I looked all up and down the internet, so I asked ChatGPT, and this is what happened. Did Kamala Harris wipe her drug sentencing record clean from the internet? I wanted to find out how many people Kamala Harris had sent to jail for marijuana-related offenses during her time as a prosecutor. I couldn't find it on the internet anywhere, so I asked ChatGPT. I said, how many people did Kamala Harris prosecute for marijuana? It said that she handled over 1,900 marijuana-related convictions. So I asked the AI engine for sources, and each source was valid, except the one related to how many convictions her office actually handled. ChatGPT cited the Washington Examiner, and when I clicked the link, I was given an error 404, this webpage does not exist. I asked if it could provide me with some more links, and so it did. It cited PolitiFact, Democracy Now!, and Marie Claire. So I clicked the PolitiFact link. This webpage does not exist. Democracy Now!, the page you're looking for doesn't exist. Marie Claire? Sorry, error 404. Every other time that I've used ChatGPT to gain sources, the links have always worked. It's only with this specific claim, this specific piece of information, that every single source that at one time made this claim has taken their webpage down. Let me know what you think down below, and follow me here for updates. And I'd also like to preface, I posted this video on TikTok, and it was taken down for a community guidelines violation. They didn't specify what community guidelines I had violated, and I appealed it, and they put it back up, and then 15 minutes later, they took it down again for, again, an unspecified community guidelines violation. This time I couldn't appeal it because they'd already taken it down once. I did find a corroborating source. Forbes has the number, 1,900 marijuana convictions oversaw by Kamala Harris's office. I did find one source. That's it. Everything else has been scrubbed, as far as I can tell. And I'm not talking about just, articles that talk about her sentencing people for marijuana. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a source that gives the specific number of people who were sentenced. I want the exact number. So a lot of people commenting on my videos, or on this video specifically, saying, oh, well, the Washington Examiner still has articles up. Yeah, they do still have articles up where they accuse her of sentencing people for marijuana use, but they don't have the exact number of people that are that were sentenced for marijuana usage. And the reason that this is important, the reason that it's important to have the exact number of marijuana convictions that Kamala Harris has carried out, and have a source to corroborate that, is because people are now claiming that Kamala Harris only convicted 40 people of marijuana usage, of marijuana-related crimes, and that's a lie. But it seems like Kamala Harris has scrubbed that claim from the internet, or somebody did. So I think that's super important, and I think that it's a really interesting thing, especially considering Donald Trump is essentially now a felon because of he allegedly did the exact same thing, right? Even the things that many of the things Donald Trump scrubbed weren't true stories in the first place. There was one that he had sex with a custodian in his hotel and had an illegitimate child. Everyone acknowledges that that's not a true story. The New York Times acknowledges that it's a false story. Washington Post acknowledges that it's a false story. Okay, it's not real. Trump paid that story. He paid for that story and he shut it down. Story wasn't true. This is true. Kamala Harris did convict over 1,000. Her office convicted over 1,900 people for marijuana-related offenses. So I think it's super important. But anyway, with that being said, guys, we're going to end the stream for today. Might be live later. Who knows? And I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Again, make sure to